Hey guys, Conrad Iacobellis here for Park City Television. As some of you may know, I'm quite a bit of a nerd, and one aspect of nerd culture I have not covered yet is comic books. Comic books that are both now TV shows, movies, and some comic books that are underground that you definitely should be reading. So we're outside right now at Black Cat Comics right here in Salt Lake City. We're gonna go inside and meet up with Gage, the owner of Black Cat Comics, and talk everything comic books. So let's head inside and meet up with Greg. All right, guys, so we are inside the store of Black Cat Comics with owner,
yes,
Gage.
Yes,
dude,
hi.
Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, thanks for coming by.
So before we get into the meat and potatoes of the comic book world, you have some quick recommendations for anyone who may not be a fan of comics, try and get into it, or someone who's already pretty into the world of comics. So what are your recommendations?
Well, these are kind of easy to get into. Scalped by Jason Aaron. It's almost Goodfellas on an Indian reservation. It's a Native American agent that goes back to the reservation to try and filter out some corruption, and realizes, very rapidly that his family is very involved in it.
Interesting.
Really
and then
great stuff.
We have two. One that is kind of a hit Netflix show these days, Riverdale.
I'm gonna make myself seem really silly by saying this, but I love that show and I love this book. Yeah, this is great. I mean, it's obviously it's more of an updated, mature, I guess, retelling of the Archie mythos.
I mean, this is Archie from like the 50s.
Yep, same Archie. And it seems very different, but it is very different. But it's also really, really good. It's really enjoyable. So if you like the TV series, come and grab this.
And then we have Wonder Woman Earth 1.
Wonder Woman Earth 1 is great.
Yeah.
It's a really easy entry point to Wonder Woman comics. It's got basically kind of a new origin they put together. It's a really easy kind of dip your toe in the water sort of thing. And
with the popularity of Wonder Woman and the success of the Gal Gadot movie, I mean, this is something, if you enjoyed that movie at all, definitely pick this issue up, because
it's great.
If you love the movie, you're definitely gonna love this. If you're a Marvel fan of the movies or TV shows or even DC, we're gonna talk about some comics that correlate to the TV shows and movies. So first,
Black Panther. That's actually an excellent book to get in. When you see trade paperbacks, graphic novels, whatever you want to call them, most of the time those are self-contained.
Okay.
So you can pick that up, you can get right into the story, you can get the full story, and without going back and spending too much on older issues, you can drop $20 and see if you really like the character.
And next we're going to talk about Cloak and Dagger, which just released as a show, right?
Yeah, TV show. It is older series, I guess. 80s they were introduced, I believe actually late 70s in Spider-Man they were introduced.
Okay.
Always kind of bit players. They had a few ongoing series, nothing went too long, but they've always had that sort of cult following because it is, an African-American hero and a woman that, have been taken advantage of by corporations and, things like that. It's almost a little more timely now than it was.
That's very cool. And that's one thing comics do. They kind of transcend time, where back then they may have been ahead of their times, and now it's like the times are almost catching up to the stories in the comics.
Yeah, exactly.
Civil War.
Yeah, this is kind of, this is the Captain America portion of it. So this is from the Captain America series, the Civil War. And this is when he gets killed off, when they're debating, geez, what are we going to do? Who are we going to bring in? Who's going to be Captain America? Where's that symbol going to come from?
Yeah. We're going to talk about some picks that definitely get into because they're great stories and they have nothing to do with superheroes. So the first one is Lock and Key.
Lock and Key. Joe Hill,
Stephen King's son.
Stephen King's son.
Yes.
Lock and Key is really, really good.
Brief synopsis of Lock and Key. It's about
a
group of friends that get a house, and
it's a family, actually.
A family, yes, in Massachusetts.
There is a killer that has affected their family.
Yes.
The lock and the Lock and Key is literal and figurative.
Yes.
Both. It's it's psychological and it's physical, and there's a lot of things going on in it, and to really say too much more.
Yeah, we don't want to spoil anything.
I don't want to spoil anything. I want you to buy it. I don't want you to hear from me.
Yeah, and then next we're going to move on to, I think, one of the greatest masterpieces recently, Saga. I like to describe it as Star Wars meets Romeo and Juliet meets Lord of the Rings.
That's good.
It's about kind of two worn, torn races that come together and have a child, and the story is told through the child's perspective.
Probably one of the most popular books we have right
Yeah.
now.
For a very good reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, you know, for a while you get like, oh, you know, everybody's coming in looking for Watchmen, or everybody's coming in looking for Bat.
Yeah.
This is what a lot of people are coming in and looking for right now. I mean, if I were to compare people that come in and say, hey, do you have Watchmen? Do you have Saga? More people are asking for Saga.
And it's still coming out.
It's still coming
being
out.
released. So this is still new enough to where new issues are being released.
Yeah, yeah.
Why the Last Man? We're going to briefly touch on this because we're going to talk about something else written by Brian K. Vaughan. But Why the Last Man? Basically, all the men disappear except for a man and his monkey named Ampersand. And this, I believe, is actually going to be adapted into a TV show very soon. So while the Last Man is fantastic, you have another pick by Brian K. Vaughan that you want to highlight.
I do, yes. It is called Ex Machina. This is really, really great. It's a politician that used to be a, you know, Iron Man kind of steampunky superhero.
Okay.
Something really bad happened that I don't want to give that away because it's the end of the first issue and it's quite a reveal. But forced him into retirement from superheroing and into politics. So he could try and make a difference that way instead of, because in his mind it was a failure.
So it's kind of almost turning the superhero genre over and being like, yeah, he was a superhero. What happens when they can't do it anymore? And kind of taking a very more realistic approach.
Yes. Really. Yeah.
Yes, and taking a very realistic approach for politics. Thank you so much to Greg and Taylor from Black Cat Comics talking to me about everything comics. There are some recommendations I'm definitely going to check out right now. Guys, keep it tuned to Park City Television for more coverage, and we'll see you soon.